right. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. Welcome, 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 family. Let's go, let's go, let's go. We are live here today, and our topic today is what happens to Black boys without proper mentors. We have a special guest on the program with us today, our big brother, Brother Ali. We're going to go ahead and start with introductions. Brother Ali, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody?
Hey, my name is Robert McCowan. Nicodemus Ali is my, that's kind of my offset name. Brother Muhammad and I encountered each other sometime, I want to say around 2023, where, we immediately connected. And, I think we have definitely kindred spirits on a lot of issues. And we also have a background of DOD members. So that kind of brought us together. And, I'm just, really interested in the topic. And, I'm a active listener as well as analytical. So I'm just glad for the invite. And Dr. Thomas, I believe, it was a pleasure meeting you. And I look forward to maybe meeting you in person, somewhere in the very near future, sir.
Likewise, my brother.
Definitely. Brother Robert, your audio seems to be very low. Yeah, it's very low.
Is that better?
No, is to hearing you.
Okay.
When you're speaking very low. Is really low. I turned my audio all the way up, but it is still you're coming through, but it's coming through low.
Okay. How about now?
Yeah. That's
okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Could we let the brother introduce himself again?
Yeah. You want to do that again, Brother Robert?
Okay. My name is Robert McCowan. Like I stated earlier, Brother Muhammad and myself, met sometime on or about, I want to say September 2023. There was an immediate connection. We had kindred spirits. A lot of the topics we saw, from the same opticals. Also, we have a connection of also being DOD members, deploying in, foreign hostile environments. So that connected us. We also attend, the same church. And so, I was very excited, when he, gave me the shout out for the invite. And I think I was saying earlier, Dr. Jones, it was a pleasure, meeting you earlier. And I do look, forward to, meeting you in person somewhere or sometime in the very near future.
Excellent.
Likewise,
Excellent.
Welcome.
Yes, sir. Thank you, dear brother. Welcome. Doc, we already know who you are, but we want to go ahead and give an introduction.
As you well know, I'm Captain Viola Jones's baby boy. That's the highest title I got. African American Studies professor, historian, writer. I got 3 more days of teaching this summer, and then I'll be off for the rest of the summer. So I'm looking forward to writing and completing some writing projects. So that's where we're at.
Definitely. And Doc, your new book is out, right?
No, not yet. That's what I'm working on right now. I'm not working on it at all. The editors and formatters and all that, they have it, so it's out of my hands right now. So Foolish Floyd, the Contrarian Returns, will be out hopefully within the next 2 weeks.
Perfect. All right. So again, our topic tonight is what happens to Black boys without proper mentors. And as we were talking in the pre-program, there was a story about some Black children was adopted by white people. And this white couple had a place in Washington State and West Virginia. And they were making the children sleep in the barn and all this stuff, and had them out there doing manual labor just like slaves. And one of the interesting things for me was that the neighbors knew what was going on, but yet didn't pick up the phone and call nobody or do anything, and let this kind of condition go on. So the first question I want to ask you all, do you believe that white people or any other, whether it's white, whether it's Asian, whatever, should they be allowed to adopt Black children? And likewise, should Black people be allowed to adopt other children? Brother Robert, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think oftentimes, when, I'm just going to give a quick analogy or an example. When we look at, let's just say policing, something, I just want to simplify it. Oftentimes, we're looking at, white police officers that are policing Black communities that, there's a major disconnect. And, oftentimes their experience, with people of color is often what the media has shown them. So they come in, to the workforce already with a preconceived notion that Black people are evil. Black people are subject, more subject to committing crimes than our white counterparts. But when we look at the term Black on Black crime, there's no Black on Black crime. Crime is crime. Regardless of who's committing it. So when we look at oftentimes, other races adopting, our children of color, there's a disconnect, and, I'm just interested, or curious, where this incident occurred. Was it a predominantly white community? And if so, oftentimes, we're looked upon as, not necessary. There's no value to our life. So really it's not surprising that, it wasn't reported, because to them it probably was, not an issue. And so I do have issues, with other races, adopting children of color, because we see celebrities now, going over to, Africa, bringing, you know, um, you know, uh, our brothers and sisters, back to the United States, and it's almost like a prize to them, almost like a show dog. Look what I'm doing. I'm exposing this child, to a way of life that they never would have had without me. So, having said that, there's going to be a certain amount of servitude that individual child is going to be subjected to. You know, it may be a good show on the outside, but behind closed doors, we don't know the horrific acts that may be committed, against them. I'm not going to say I would be a good father, to a white child, because, I'm just saying, from a cultural standpoint, there are going to be gaps that, just my understanding of that child's, maybe needs, I'm not going to be able to mitigate or implement the necessary countermeasures, to raise that child in a manner maybe that they should be raised in. So I'm not a component for that, and I might be looked upon as, I'm not acclimated. I'm not acclimating myself to the ways of this society, or the way a lot of people think that I should. But at the end of the day, I have the understanding, that I'm Black, first and foremost, regardless of what my position is, or my title. So I know I went all the way around the block, with my answer, but I do have issues, and I'm not for it.
Definitely. Thank you, brother. Dr. Jones.
This is an issue that's been around for the longest. I remember back in the 70s and 80s, a Black social work organization spoke out against the idea of cross-racial adoptions. For me, it really in every way kind of rubs me the wrong way. And I'm speaking, of course, you're going to have some outliers or what have you, but by and large, I can't think of many circumstances where a Black child would be able to truly flourish and be psychologically stable coming out of a white home, and the rearing that occurs within their white home, despite the personal politics and the cultural values and viewpoints of the immediate family. They may very well welcome this black person into their family, but they have not a single idea of how to weather the racial attacks that this child is going to experience. It reminds me of Du Bois, Souls of Black Folk, where he talks about the problem of the 20th century will be that of the color line. That's probably one of the few errors that I found in Du Bois's work, because it's not just the problem of the 20th century. It's crossed over into the new millennium. And outside of being sympathetic and trying to patch them up, I don't think that most whites are capable of conceiving what life is like for a black child, and therefore are incapable of preparing them and getting them ready for what's coming, because it's coming and it's going to hurt. And I yield, brother.
Thanks, Doc. Now, I want to ask y'all, do you believe it's because there's a different culture that whites cannot really understand? What more makes it difficult, even if it was an Asian, even if it was a Chinese person trying to adopt a black child? And there has been several black women that have adopted white children, Asian children, and raised them without a problem. So why do we have this where black women can adopt these children from other races and raise them without a problem, but there's a problem when other races adopt black children? Is it more than just the color line? What else do you think that it's makes it more difficult, Brother Robert?
Well, you know what? I think when we go back, to the plantation, and oftentimes, that mother, was forced to raise, the master's children, even breastfeeding them, and I think that paternal instinct that black women have, just naturally, from the ancestral bloodline, I just feel that most black women, can adapt a lot better than their other counterparts, because when we look at, the black woman can almost produce, any race, coming out of her womb. So I think she has something that her other counterparts don't have, and will never have. So I'm not going to say that with that black woman raised in other ethnicities that there won't be challenges outside of the house, even for those children, because they may be looked upon or looked down upon because who that person is, and the color of their skin, and they may have the best life, but the challenges outside of that dwelling, is still going to be a challenge for those children.
Definitely. Thank you, Brother Robert. Doc, what say you?
The thing that's always bothered me when we talk about the raising of children. Unfortunately, most people, believe that their goal is to actually love their children. And if you ask the average parent, what's your job as a parent? It is to love that child and nurture them, give them the love that they need. I find issue with that. Okay. Now, of course, you're going to love your children. Hopefully you should, but that's not your grandest job. I think your grandest job is to prepare that child to live in a world that you no longer exist in, to prepare them for that moment when you're no longer here. Now, when you consider all of the benefits, and I'm reminded of the great comedian Paul Mooney, who talked about whenever he was doing a show in a city, he would drive around. And whenever he would see a homeless white person, he said, I cry, because I just reason for myself and I say, what a waste of whiteness. So when you look at the preparation, the undergirding, the strengthening that Black women and Black fathers, Black mothers and Black fathers give to children. If you were to give that child, if you were to remove from that child's career path, professional path, even personal path, all the snares and the hiccups and the headaches and the obstacles that being Black in America puts in front of you, that child is destined for greatness. So it makes sense that a cross-racial adoption that would have a Black parent and a white child, the child is going to be prepared to go out and conquer the world in ways that they will never have to confront and conquer that world, versus the opposite of taking a Black child who's going to be socialized and not prepared to tackle the world as he's going to need to tackle all of these snares that Blackness puts in front of him. He's almost destined to fail. If he's not destined to fail, he's going to be so ostracized and individualized from those who are around him. We have to remember that if when we talk about success in life, true success, when you're laying on your deathbed, it's about memories and relationships. And far too many Black children raised away from the Black community eventually get to a point where they realize that they're all alone, that they don't have the background, the solid family that they're going to need. And that support that I'm talking about for Black folk um, goes well beyond being hooked up for a position or a job. It's those private moments, those quiet moments. It's those moments when you need to be around your own kind, and be able to draw off of their energy, get their advice, and what have you. To not have that, especially as a Black man, is going to be tremendously problematic. And it's going to create all these different interlocking inadequacies and failures and what have you, to the point where it's akin to a Rubik's Cube that's never going to be able to be solved. Brother. And I yield.
Excellent. Thank you, Doc. We all know President Obama was raised by his white side of the family. And in his address to America dealing with women's right and his grandmother, growing up in the house, he heard his grandparents call Black people niggers. It was, something that just happens. It's part of that fabric. But he didn't talk about the psychological effects, if any, that it had on him, to know that, here's the people that you love, but when they see other Black people, they're calling them niggers. What do y'all think? Do you think that has an impression on a Black child's mind when they're being raised by a white person and that white person is calling Black people niggers? I've heard it say by Michi X that her dad, Polish dad, would get mad and call Black people niggers. But she's never talked about what were the psychological effects of living under something like that. What do y'all think? Do you think that it carries any weight or any damage onto the child when they're seeing their loved one call other Black people niggers? Brother Robert?
Well, oftentimes, I think in a situation like that, you're almost trapped in a situation, that, you didn't choose as a child. And, I think the more that a young person, let's say a toddler, as they're growing up, they're hearing that, oftentimes, they want to separate from who they are, because they see that, you know, people that look like them, and the people that they love, hate those individuals, because, when you use derogatory terms like that, that's going to tear down, an individual's, character. So oftentimes, we have that thing where, Black people, some say, they start wanting to associate, with a different, demographics, to, to try to show I'm not with them, and oftentimes, the people that are subjecting them to that, will make them feel you're different. You're not, I'm not calling you, you're better than them, because you're better than them because you're associated with us. So, you're not that, the nigger, they are. So now that child, they hear that long enough, that's going to make them even, seek out, someone from a different race, because now they have to show, the people that they love and they feel that loves them, that I'm not associating, with people like me. I'm going to marry this person, with blue eyes, blonde hair, and, that now is going to have an impact, I believe, even in that marriage, because that person that they marry, that, that's maybe, they think is their way out, or their way to get love from the people that they love. Oftentimes you look at athletes, they're portrayed by those very people, through divorces, through, taking half of, or over half of, what they've earned when they didn't work for any of it. So I think definitely it will have an impact, and not in a favorable way. So, to be put in a predicament like that is, you're caught, between a rock and a hard place.
Exactly. Thank you, Brother Robert. Doc?
I'm fortunate enough to have my closest partners are those that I did undergrad with, and one of them, his mother was a white lady, and his father was a black man, and he told me about his mother's comments, and they stayed with him now. He's a 50-some-year-old man, and he can remember her saying things like if the washer dryer broke in their house, no, don't call no black man. If you want something fixed right, you better call a white man. If you want it done on time, you better call a white man. This and that. And she was, this will sound strange, but she was really a very darling lady. But that's just how she was raised, and that's how that's how she talked. So in saying that, it dogs him to this very day, and it's not something that I believe that he'll ever be able to unhear, get over, or not have shadowing him psychologically as a black man. That the very woman that gave him birth had some dubious distinctions about and opinions about black men and the worth of black men. And at the same time, and like I said, it sounds really ironic that I can still say, well, she was a darling lady. I mean, and it's sort of to emphasize, the feelings of affinity that I have for her even to this day. Unfortunately, she passed away from COVID. There were times when I would go by their house, and he wasn't there. And me and his mother, we would sit back and watch old Western movies, these black and white movies. And he would come in and he'd be like, man, what you doing over here with my mama? I'm like, hey, man, look here, I love your mama. Okay. And then he said, man, if you were my boy, I think something was going on. I go up in here, hope you all in recliners with your feet kicked up, snoring. Okay. So, but still at the same time, that still dogs him to this very day. And it's something that'll come up infrequently, but it is something that we've had conversation about more times than I can count.
Wow, excellent. I want to know from both of you, what is blackness? What is being black? What is that to you, Brother Robert?
Well, the first part to me, being black, is knowing your history, knowing where you come from. Because, the one thing, my father, and I was fortunate, to have a father in my life that, that molded me. And, and I saw, examples out of him as a strong black man, that I believe I'm in the predicament that I am today. because of him. He's no longer here, but I still hear him every day in my ear, talking to me. It was things, when he thought I wasn't listening, and I was actively listening. And to this day, I hear things that we talked about 30 years ago, and I'm like, wow. So I think the one thing we have to know who we are, as a race, to know what we are,
Mm-hmm.
to have any type of pride, and how we interact with each other as Black people. Because
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, my dad would always tell me, he said, the one thing he said, if you want to destroy a race, take their history, and make them, just turn them into nomads. They don't know where they're going. Because when we look at CRT, critical race theory, I think it's I can't think of the governor, Ron DeSantis. He's a big component and taking Black history, out of the school systems, and in doing that, a lot of children, unfortunately, they don't have, and I hate to say this, but they don't have strong, Black figures even in their households, to look at. So that's part of the process, of destroying, like, our Blackness, of who we are, so, I think, it's just like, I was talking with my wife, and and I was telling her, I said, most Black people, most Black women in particular, I said a lot of them, they get paid and they're running to the Asian stores, and and the money doesn't, well, really, we don't even have a community that we could circulate, our currency in, because we've been, taught to rely upon other races. So, and in doing that, it's going to destroy, that.
Brother Robert, are you still there? Looks like Brother Robert is having some difficulty. Don't know what's going on. I want to welcome Twin Pyramid to the program. Peace and blessings, Twin. I want to welcome Mac 285 to the program. Peace and blessings. We're glad that y'all here. Brother Robert was speaking, but something happened. I'll shoot him a text message, but while we're trying to get Brother Robert back, Doc, you can go ahead. What is Blackness to you?
Blackness for me is the essence of life, of my entire being. It's tied into my personal history, meaning my familial history. It's tied into my political viewpoints. Um, it's with me every single moment of every day. There is not a decision that I make that is not in some way influenced by my Blackness, um, and aimed at furthering Black folk. The way I make my money is aimed at uplifting Black folk. The way I spend my leisure time is aimed at uplifting Black folk. So through and through, it's a lens. It is the lens that I look at the entire globe through. I look at it through Blackness, and the most beneficial portion of that lens is, aimed at what Khaled Abdul Muhammad would often say, the liberation and salvation of the Black nation. And I know without a doubt that it's difficult for some Black folk to be able to raise children to understand that your living life, your essence, the reason that you're here, um, is due to others. And the ultimate sign of respect is you giving your life to that cause.
So, Doc, let me ask you, would you consider those who are in Black skin Black just because they're in that skin, but their mindset is not a black mindset, would you consider them to be black?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, there is no acceptance for a Clarence Thomas. You
Mm,
know, for individuals who are basically Benedict Arnold. They're treasonous. You know,
mhm,
it's I have room for individuals that I disagree with politically in regards to how we achieve a goal. But I have no room in my heart for individuals who can't even agree that the goal is liberation of black folk. If we can't
mm,
agree upon that, you're not my kind. You know,
mhm,
as Kendrick Lamar likes to say, they not like us.
mhm. Definitely, definitely. The Do you think that there is a process of niggerization? Do you think that there's a process to lead a person that way?
Without a doubt. I mean, the truth of the matter is that we enter in this world knowing very little. You know, we have these involuntary things as far as breathing, it's looking around, taking a poop, peeing. Everything else you learned. Now, some of it is encoded in your DNA, and that's a whole nother discussion when you begin to talk about this process. One could argue that, and Lord knows I have a hard time debunking, and I'm turning into that old dude. I'm sir now when I'm around younger folk. Okay, um, I think that maybe it's 20 to 30% DNA written into their DNA that gets them rolling towards niggerdom. You
Mhm.
know, because there's no other real explanation for it. It is a process, and then it's also a cultural standard that some people buy into, you know, and that becomes their understanding and their personification of what blackness is. They're wrong, but that becomes what it is. And at the same time that we're talking about um, them being wrong, let us also be very clear that those who oppose us, they go through a process that leads them to recognize us as members of Niggardom. You know,
Mhm.
I'm thinking about Malcolm when Malcolm said that and he was talking about the creation of whiteness, which is it's a politically opportune social construct because there is no place as white land. Um, but amazingly, these Europeans who can't get their heads wrapped together in Europe get to this land and they become all under one roof, one umbrella of whiteness. But they go through a process as well. And as Malcolm put it, he said, as soon as the new immigrants come through Ellis Island, the first English word they learn is nigger.
Mhm.
And one has to, in many ways, give some credence to it. You know, Malcolm was correct on that one. He wasn't correct on the house nigger, field nigger, but he
Mhm.
was correct on that one right there.
Mm. Very, very interesting. I've never thought about that as far as, there's a process that they go through as well. It's very,
Well,
very
some of it, I think some of it is encoded in their DNA, but it's certainly a process. That's where they learn how you treat, you know, these people. That's
mhm.
where they learn, and it's it's the shame of black children, of black parents allowing black children to go and be taught and socialized in white institutions, because at the same time that white children are learning that blackness is lesser than, black children are sitting in that same classroom absorbing that same thing. So
Mm.
they're pouring into both of them, but one of them is processing it and filtering it as I'm superior, and the other one is processing it and filtering it through their entire being and mind that I'm less than. Yeah,
Mm.
it's a process that we go through, and you need to look no further than look at the service that one gets from the same people. You take a waitress and you put her at a 5-star, a black waitress, put her at a 5-star restaurant, or the manager of a restaurant. They're gonna be on point. Take them and put them over there at the Soul Food Shack and see the attitude, see the absence of processes, even when they know better. But this is good enough for some niggas. and that's an issue. That's a problem. We're taught gradually about what to value and what to not value, and there are some of us who come out of that process having been mentored and guided to an understanding of who we are and how we should, in many ways, be dealing with our people. You know, we go back and you take a look at the great Baldwin quote, and you know, just look at it through the lens of what we're talking about. Baldwin says, children have never been very good at listening to their elders, but they have never failed to imitate them. So when you really think about that and you really consider that type of insight, this latest generation of black folk killing other black folk is nothing new to our community. They've seen that before. Okay, this idea of, and I know the gender wars are really raging now because of YouTube and all of these silly videos that people do. But these gender wars are by and large what, 50, 60 years old now. And you have many black folk who are talking crazy to other black folk because they've seen their parents do it. You know, if you watch some of these shoplifting videos on YouTube, when you have a mother getting caught shoplifting at a Walmart or what have you, she'll have her child there. And sometimes the children are 9, 10 years old. They're learning that this is how you, if this is blackness, and this is how you navigate through the system that we have, versus other people who are pouring into their children. We may be poor, we may lack things, but we're not thieves. Those are two different messages and two different examples that two different children are going to play off of during their adult lives.
And so, Doc, you made a very interesting point when you talked about the children going to school, both black and white, in the same classroom, but one is being taught I'm better and the other is being taught that I'm lesser. Does that begin at the teaching of, you know, you came from slaves and you had them enslaved? Does it come from that, or does it start even earlier with learning the Pledge of Allegiance? Where can we point to that the process starts?
Once again, Brother Malcolm, when he had the great moment where he's talking to a reporter, he says, if you really want to understand who I am and about me, you have to not only look at my father, but also at my father's father and his father's father. If you really want to understand why so many of our children are, as my Uncle Richard would refer to it, as ziggity boo crazy, you got to look at their parents, their grandparents, their great-grandparents, their great-great-grandparents to really understand them. Because in many ways, the words of one of my favorite rappers of all time, I love to talk about hip hop, grand verbalizer, funkin' lesson brother Jay from X Clan. He makes this great point in one of his rhymes. He says, ignorance is not a trend. So in many ways, when you see a child being raised up within a family and he's picked up the linguistic patterns, the Ebonic idiosyncrasies of Black English, he sounds just like his parents. He sounds like his aunts. He sounds like his uncles. And not only will he generally sound like them, he'll behave like they do as well. Okay, he may, every Saturday we get together and we have a barbecue. Okay, and then you have a great grandparent, a grandparent, a mother or a father that knows nothing about Black history, knows nothing about our people beyond, man, look here, you just need to get a job, and you need to try and get you a house and a family, and take. For some people, that is the epitome of success in life. So when you're talking about what's going to happen inside of that classroom, think about a lesson where we're talking about Thomas Jefferson. White folk can leave out of that lesson understanding that he was a founding father and a great man. Black children will leave out of that lesson understanding that Sally Hemings was his whore, and that Jefferson was the supreme hypocrite who never freed nobody. So here on the one hand, white children are learning that the white man didn't have to free y'all, and he still is going to be celebrated. That is the source of his celebration. And Black children, Black girls in particular, are going to look at that and learn that, listen, white men can do whatever they want to do to us and still be celebrated. I mean, you think about the lesson, if we extend it all the way to the present day, of the Jefferson family, refusing, resisting and refusing to have Thomas Jefferson's black descendants buried in the same cemetery as his white ones. Not like they want to be there anyway.
Right.
But it extends to this very day. So it's possible as an educator. I can definitely attest to this. It's former civil to be in a classroom and to educate white children and not black children.
Mm. You there, Doc? Okay.
To the best of my ability, brother.
All
It's,
right.
it's hot. It's hot in Houston. I think it's burning up our internet as well, brother. It's hot. I'm right about now. I'm a shut in.
Mm. Brother Mac Jones, Brother Mac 285 says, I just accepted the reality that most of us hate each other.
Yep.
And he says that it's sad.
Yeah. I mean, it's our whole. For many of us, it's our entire being. I mean, think about how, with the common history that we have as a people. Think about how low regard we must hold each other. And I'm speaking. I'm speaking specifically at black women right now.
Okay.
Okay, that you have the audacity, the gall, when it took two of us, okay, to be able to make it through. And I'm talking about make it through all the way through the 80s and the 90s. To sit around now and to not even speak, acknowledge black men when they're in your presence, when they walk by you, as if we're the scum of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
That takes a lot. That's a deep, deep hatred, to not be able to acknowledge someone and to even very quickly be like, yo, you good today?
Mm-hmm.
We're not even worthy of that usually. What we get is vitriol and hatred far too often. And what has happened, and it's truly unfortunate, it's one of those where you're wondering how low can we go, is that now you got brothers who will not acknowledge black women at all.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask many brothers, and I would say the majority of brothers, that if they saw a sister getting the brakes beat off of her, they ain't going over there to help.
Mm-hmm.
Because in their minds, they're kind of saying, I wonder what she did. Maybe she treated somebody like she treats us. And
Mm-hmm.
it's truly what, and when you think about, and not to divert the conversation, these high salary demands that black women have. Oh, he needs to make 350,000. Are you crazy?
Mm-hmm.
You put your entire lineage together, and y'all together don't make no 350,000.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Where is the love? Where is the value of one another? And those things come from the heart. Our hearts are diseased, let alone our minds.
Mm. Wow. That's deep. Our heart is diseased, let alone our minds. Wow. And Max says black women are literally holding us accountable for problems that we need to solve together. Um, and that's a big truth right there as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, brother Mac, my thing is now that I didn't cause that problem, so I feel absolutely positively no responsibility in solving it, because there's a level of looniness, of rudeness, of disrespect that we're getting from women within our community that makes me really feel comfortable with washing my hands of any problem. I'll deal with mine. I'm not dealing with theirs, not anymore. You figure that out on your own, because delaying ourselves in our development to um, to help others whose problems are in many ways a byproduct of generations of dysfunction. We're never going to get that straightened out for them. And to be honest with you, I don't believe that they're really that interested in solving that problem. There's a pleasure that some seem to get from disrespecting black men, calling them broke dusties, whatever have you. Um, you know, Yeah, it's an issue.
Definitely. I want to go to this first video and watch it and talk about this niggerization process, talk about the lack of proper parenting, and see what we can get from here. So let me go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put out there that this brother, the security guard, he's no longer employed here, but he would video his encounters with Black people. White people would send him money for better equipment, for better tasers, better cameras, better mics, because he would upload it and put it on YouTube and go run with it. And white people would be sending him big time money for better equipment so that they can do it, and pushing them, yeah, do it more, do it more, do it. And so he would come to work, every day looking to light Black people up. And this is one of those encounters where he's going to deal with a Black woman, and we got the children there watching. So let's check this out real quick.
Hey! Don't yell at my motherfucking baby. She's not inside this regular ass mall. So you not finna yell at her. The fuck about you looking over there. But you hear what I'm saying to your pussy. Don't motherfucking yell at some bitch. Don't yell at my motherfucking ass mall. Fuck you.
Back it up. Back it up. Back it up. Back it up. Back it up.
Get off me.
Back it up. Back it up.
Don't, nigga, don't play with me.
I ain't playing with you. Back it up.
Don't play with me.
Back it up.
Nigga.
Back it up.
You talking about bitch, nigga.
You better back it up.
Yelling at my motherfucking baby, bitch. Yell again, baby. I want that fuck nigga. Nigga.
You better back it up.
Hey, don't yell at that I supply for. You do a motherfucking thing.
You better back it up.
She can yell.
You better back it up.
She can yell.
You better back it up.
She can yell. She can yell. What's up?
Back it up.
What's up? Exactly. Pussy nigga. Come on, he getting off. You get fucked. He getting off on this. Like you get fucked. Like you get fucked. Nigga. Fuck you, nigga.
You better back it up.
Fuck you, somebody. You take dick every night, bitch. Fuck you, somebody, nigga.
You better back it up. You better back it up. I got you. I got you. Well, I got you. I got you. I got you. Stay out. I'm the punk nigga. I'm the bitch nigga. Stay out. I got you. Stay out. Stay out. I ain't gonna call nobody. I'm gonna tell you to stay out. Just stay out. Okay. Try your luck, honey. Stay out. Stay out. Okay. Get out, dog. Leave. Get your kids. Get your children. Get your children. Get your children. Get your children. You better get up. Back. You better back it up. You better back it. Back it up. You better. You better back.
So as the
You better back it up. What's the matter with you? What's the matter with you? Hey, cool. What you doing, man? My baby's right there. You tripping. For real, my baby's right there. For real, why my baby's out there? Hold on. Y'all back it up. Why my baby's right there? Why my baby's right there? I'll hit you, dog. I'll hit you. 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 If I don't get you, boy, I think my children ain't here. I'm there for peace, like he said. I'm there for mine.
all right, so there we have it. We saw the whole process here. Hold on one second. All right. So, Doc, I know you went in and out, but this madness, is this the beginning of the niggeration process? You're on mute, Doc.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. You know, I think that you're seeing in that display, you know, that's probably generations of dysfunctional behavior that is masquerading itself as blackness. But nothing could be further from this idea that being a expression of blackness. But I also think that you're seeing, and it's really amazing, you're seeing the socialization of the next generation to behave in the same way. Because just as we would never forget a brutal attack by a law enforcement officer upon our mother in front of us, the children will never forget what they just saw on this particular day, even though it would be, from my value system, reasonable and understandable. So I think that you're seeing what was inherited and what is being passed down. Those children are going to have a very difficult time being able to adjust to and live within a functional, assembled Black community. I think the majority of us are living within disassembled Black communities right now, where we just take life as it comes. We don't even attempt to plan anything. If we have children, well, we'll deal with it when it comes. Rent's gonna be due on the first. We'll deal with that when it comes. We're doing catch as catch can, and you're never going to succeed in this life, this material, physical life, doing it that way. So yeah, I agree with you. I think that you're seeing the transference of niggerdom from one generation to the next, and there's nothing that a school teacher, a law enforcement officer, a pastor, a priest, hell, I would argue even a mentor, is going to be able to do in the limited amount of time that they have those children around them and are influencing those children to counterbalance what they were raised within. Just as no one would be able to undo what you poured into your girls, into your boys, to override what you taught them in the little time that they're exposed to them.
Now, it is very interesting, Doc. Mac 285 said future inmates, talking about the children. What's your thoughts on that? Would you agree that that's what they can,
I
be if
think
they.
that's what they're being set up to be, is future inmates, and it has nothing to do with their skin color. It has everything to do with the behavior, with the refusal to even be able to intelligently survey the situation. That there's no way that you're going to be able to outdo the long arm of the law. Not this way. You're running up against a tank, and you're not even in a vehicle, and you think that you're going to win this one. No. No. See, the true movement that should have occurred there, the strategy to be out into civilized society, where the law is the supreme being, should have been taught at home. You know, and it's really unfortunate and deplorable that oftentimes people have trained their dogs better than they have their children. And that's saying a whole lot about the raising and the pouring into of children.
Now, I want to look at another statement that Matt 285 said. He said, if that security guard was white, they would have got it way worse. But my question is, do you think that they would have behaved that way even if it was a white security guard? Or would they have learned how to,
Emphatically, yes. Emphatically, yes. We're dealing with a brand of new Negro, as Elaine Locke referred to urbanizing Black folk in the post-World War II era. We're dealing with a new Negro now. And this new Negro has respect for no form of authority. None. And it's one of the reasons why you're seeing such volatility. That and the fact that everything is captured now on video, be it police cam or someone's cell phone. And in many ways, you're seeing people who are developing these tactics to try and navigate white world supremacy, and they're going to fail every time. I mean, just go to YouTube and look at some of the videos dealing with sovereign citizens who've been convinced somehow that they don't need a driver's license, they don't need a license plate, they ain't even driving, they just traveling. And if that ain't your flavor, look at. I know these brothers are heavy up there in Philly. Look at the Moors. You're not going to win against this system that way. You're just not. You know, and so you're dealing with a different beast. And this beast, amazingly, they've been able to override even the natural trepidations and fears of Black folk towards white law enforcement officers. They're trying to kick their ass too.
Now, let me ask you, Doc, do you think that this is a product of white people, or is this a product purely of Black people, or the product of niggas?
James Baldwin put it this way: don't ask me about niggas, go ask white folk about niggas, because they're the ones that made them. And I believe that once the nigga was made, the nigga has been able to in every way breed, multiply, and create a dysfunctional culture that is of no worth or utility to them or anyone that looks like them or has ever carried their DNA. So white folk got that ball rolling. Okay. Black folk, because we're talking about culture. We're talking about how do you live on a daily basis? How do you make it from 8 o'clock in the morning to midnight at night? What's your strategy? And when your strategy is to attack everything that comes in your way, that's your strategy. It's not a winning one, but it's your strategy. What did you see that woman upset about? She was upset about the officer, the way he was talking to her children. Right. So she has an instinctual protection for her children. Now, how she expresses that is totally different. You know, I had a run-in with a pharmacist at CVS who didn't believe that this Negra here should be getting 90-day supply of his medicine. She said, no, nobody gets that. I'm giving you what I'm going to give you, and that's it. I said, okay. What I did, I simply walked over to the little board that the pharmacy has, and I took a picture of, if you want to file a complaint, this is what you do. I'm not going to go back and forth with your ignorant ass. What I'm going to do is I'm going to contact the corporate office, and I'm going to let them know. Before I walked out of there, she said, oh, wait a minute, I made a mistake. I know you did. And the only reason you reevaluated your mistake is because you saw me go over here and say, okay, no, I'm not going to deal with the employee. I want to deal with the employer. Okay. Now compare that, because I expect it. I'm undergirded by it. I was just at Sam's Club, and can you imagine being at Sam's Club, and I felt, I grabbed a cart for no reason. Okay, all I did was buy some buns, and I felt I needed to buy something else, so I'd have two things in my cart. Didn't even need the cart. I checked myself out. Okay, and I'm standing in this line, getting ready to walk out. And you know how they check your receipt at Sam's Club, they scan it, and some people they wave them through, other people people got hundreds of items in their doggone cart. I'm standing there holding two with a receipt in my hand. Who you think they checked?
You.
and the people around was cracking up laughing. They said, I cannot believe that. If I didn't see it, I wouldn't believe. I said, it happens to me every single. So I know to keep my receipt out. Here's a strategy. And for me, my thing is how do I navigate this day? How do I make it through this day? I don't think that they've ever been socialized to do that. I don't believe they have the skills to do that. I just think that they exist. And when they run up against some form of resistance, like this officer, and he's in no way wrong. They don't know how to express themselves. They don't know how to stand up for themselves or fight back. So they just end up acting in such a wild, banshee way that they're going to be dealt with physically. If that had been a white officer, he may have shot her. And he may have shot one of those kids. Okay. At the very least, that entire mall area would have been swarming with white law enforcement officers. And there would probably been about 7, 8 brothers there who went to jail. Because they've been, I know you got a warrant. Okay. So, yeah, it would have been different. I agree with my brother. It would have been much different if it had been a white law enforcement officer.
Wow. And do you think that now those children are very young, but do you think that there's a correction that their father, as you saw come in at the end, and asking why you tase her in front of my children? You did this in front of my children. What is his role as father? What grade would you give him at this point as father?
An F-, because the lesson should have been taught within the home. Don't you? Number one, you're a representation of me. That's number one. Number two, don't you ever put yourself in a situation, especially in front of our children, to be harmed, not intentionally. If you got a problem with somebody, you come get me. Okay? I don't want you interacting with me in a physical, dangerous situation. Okay? So from not even setting the ground rules before we go out, every football team, they huddle up to talk about the play before they go out and attempt to execute the play. Okay? They ain't even practiced. They ain't on the same. And so here he comes. Oh, well, I'm going to see you at 6 o'clock. Well, look at the example that you're setting for your children. Okay? You should have never been in that situation at all. And there are ways to handle that. It's sort of like what we talk about with our boys. The main goal, the biggest lesson is, listen here, although it may be unjust and what have you, that's the cost of being black in America. That's number one when you're dealing with law enforcement officers. But from the beginning to the end, the most important thing for you to do is to survive. I need for you to survive, because if you don't survive, I have nothing to live for. And that's what you're dealing with, and you're dealing with people, and it's really an amazing thing when you think about it, that you're dealing with people who are by and large looking for human connections, and the human connection that for so many Americans, connection in general, um, by and large is coming in two of the worst forms. One is physical connection, meaning sex. They're having sex and they're producing these children and they can't take care of these children. And there's a host of reasons to talk about why they can't take care of these children. The second one is material consumption. It's not accidental that they have all these children and they're at some mall trying to get some more material goods and items. It's probably the least, should be the least of their priorities. They have so many other things that they need that would enrich their lives more than going down there and purchasing something or walking around and window shopping. There's an absence of understanding about what the good life is about. And the good life is not luxury cars. The good life is not. The good life is about family and taking care of one another. And what we saw there is a gross lack of taking care of each other behind closed doors, so that when you go out in public, this is what you got. And let's be clear that what we saw there from her was masculine, uncooperative, disrespectful, and that's to someone with a gun, okay, who could very well end her life and go home and sleep well at the end of the day. That is not a wife. And let's be very clear about this, that it was not a husband either. And both of them are emanating from the exact same culture, the exact same social status, class, and dysfunctional culture. They're lost.
Wow. And so Mac 285 says that he was a low down baby daddy with no fatherhood skills. Where does the
But
fatherhood
but but the
skill?
but the question I have would be, and this is coming from a Tupac song, but did he fail?
Did the baby daddy fail?
Didn't fail. Considering the circumstances that he was born into, the lack of socialization, the absence of education, did he fail? Or was he destined to end up where he is?
I would say, yeah, he did fail because
What
that's
did
a
he,
choice.
what did he fail at?
He failed at I would say being a father to his children.
Where would he learn those skills at? Because
Well,
failure is if I give you 10 spelling words to learn and you didn't learn but two of them, then you failed.
right. Well, everything is so accessible these days. If you know you're a father, then you have to go out there and learn those fatherhood skills. You have that opportunity to go learn. You bringing in this child, you're responsible. So you have to go out there and get this knowledge of how do I be a father.
Okay.
So if
So okay, but wait a minute. Let me give you a little pushback. Let me ask you this. In
okay.
his understanding,
Mm-hmm.
it is simply a father, a man, is a provider and a protector. Okay. He
Mm-hmm.
probably had them down at the mall to buy them something. That is his provision. And he stepped up after she got tased. That is his protection.
Mm-hmm.
That could just be his understanding, his infantile understanding of fatherhood. And that brings me back to my question: did he fail? Did he ever see? Because you don't know what you don't know, and when you're surrounded by others who don't know either, you reinforce each other's not knowing, and in many ways begin to disrespect, ridicule, and downplay those who are what general society would consider to be righteous fathers.
So are you saying that it's okay for him not to know?
No, what I'm saying is, was there any reasonable expectation? Is it fair to have any reasonable expectation that he would know?
Yeah, I think it's fair that he has the responsibility to know, okay, I'm a father. I don't know how to be a father, so let me go learn. That's his responsibility. And I think he clearly failed to
But
go
wait a
out
minute.
and
But wait a minute.
learn.
Hold on. So you don't think that he knows how to be a father?
I will say
Because
this
he's going.
evident.
How do you know how to be a father? How did I know how to be a father? It usually came from the man that raised us. He's going to replicate whatever it takes us back to the Baldwin quote. You know, he's going to model himself after what it is that he saw. And I think that what you're saying is for people like him, highbrow thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not giving him a pass for being ignorant, but I'm just saying that did he fail? When you consider the station that he was born into and what he's seen probably his entire life, it's normal. You know, he's going to go home with his chest poked out and be like, yeah, I told that bitch motherfucker, if he ever blah, 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 blah. That's being a father for him. So now how do we go ahead and how do we go ahead and deal with that? You know, that type of thing. How do you learn how to be a father?
And I think, Doc, and before I say it, I want to welcome Brother Willie Rivers to the program. Peace and
What's going
blessings,
on,
Brother
brother?
Willie. Welcome, welcome. We're glad you're here. And I just got word from Brother Robert. He says that he's been trying to get back in, but the internet is very weak, is extremely weak, and he's not able to get back on. So he sends his apologies, but Satan is very busy. So hopefully we can get our brother back at a different time. I definitely believe, Doc, that it's one thing not to know, and it's okay that you don't know something, but it's your responsibility to go seek it. It is your responsibility when you understand that I don't know, so let me go and find, let me go and see. Like for me, you know, when I started having children, I knew that I wanted to definitely be a better father to my children than my dad was to me. That was the first thing that I knew and I understood. And then I began to seek, you know, where am I going to get my fathering skills from? And, you know, we're going to get into where I got my fathering skills from. I got, you know, some from my dad, and others I had to learn from looking at different mentors that this is what a good father looks like. So this is what I have to begin to teach to my children. So we all have that responsibility. You know, when you understand that you're bringing in a child to this world, your whole outlook on life should change. There should be, and I'm saying should, because, you know, obviously the light never came on to say, you know, I have to prepare a way for my children, as you said, to be able to function when you're no longer here. And, you know, and I would tell my children that, you know, I had a talk with my oldest daughter a few weeks ago. Look, I was preparing y'all for life when I'm not here, so that this world doesn't crush you, you know. And we're going to get into that conversation, not today, but we'll get into that, because what I'm finding in that situation is when you have disgruntled mothers, a mother or woman, she will turn those children against you. And you know, it's one thing for her to be yap 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 yap, but then for us, you know, it's like, I'm not gonna, you know, do no stupid shit like that, because it doesn't benefit nobody to do it. But like I said, we'll get into that, you know, in the upcoming program. But I don't think anything removes from us that responsibility of going out to learn what it is that we don't know.
Yeah, but my thing is, and this would be my question for you, is was life slow enough for you when you started having children for you to be able to think clearly, to be able to go out and learn what you didn't know, to investigate about fatherhood? Or were you mired in what I would argue, and it's complete conjecture from what we saw, a multi generational poverty that includes not only economic poverty, but also a cultural and a intellectual and really moral poverty going on, where you felt as if you were under a waterfall of just struggle and trouble and tension and things like that.
No, I wasn't under that. I was married, and I was 19 and I was married. My wife, she was 18. We were both in the military. Um,
Hmm.
and I didn't
And
have
that's
everything.
markedly different from.
Yes, yes.
Go ahead.
And I didn't have all the knowledge that I needed even at that time. Because at one point in
Mhm.
time I had a car for every day of the week. you know, and so it's foolishness. When I sit back and think about that stuff now, it's like, the fuck, why did I do that? But some of the dumb things that I was doing, but no, life was definitely different. Um, but I want to look at this point that Mac is making, because it's a very good point, where he says, my cat had 6 kittens, 5 female and 1 male. The male cat already understands that he has to protect his sisters at 10 weeks old. It's amazing to watch. And I see this same thing with animals, because I was watching a video with animals and I was like, well, damn, if the animals can get it naturally, what the fuck is wrong with us? That we're not getting this naturally, that we would allow something like this, but an animal understands that. Look, you don't. It was a video, and I hope I can find it, of a tiger attacking. Took a lion cub or something like that, and boy, them lions was whooping on him. Because it was like, no, you done fucked up here. Now we about to do you in. And it was amazing to watch, because you're like, damn, this is them in nature. And we will sit back and let our kids, our children, get their ass whooped by anybody, and be like, it's okay. It's mind blowing. But so are you saying, Doc, that the natural instinct in men to be fathers, that natural instinct is gone? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think that the natural instinct is gone, but I do believe that there's a socialization part of that as well. Whereas that lion cub will always remember when they was almost eaten by a tiger, and the hell that caused. Okay, all of that fighting, all that growling, all that blood, and all that killing that happened behind him. As he matures, he's going to remember that. Now, part of that is instinctual,
Mhm.
okay, that you're born with. But another part of that, and I would argue the bigger part of that, is the idea of this is what a lion does, what he ought to be and what he ought to do. And when I grow up, because not only is my nature been backed up by my socialization, I can be nothing other than that. Okay. Now, when you're looking at us, I believe that we have the natural instinctual proclivity to protect our women. Look at little boys. They protect their little sisters. Sometimes they try to protect their older sister from harm. Sometimes, unfortunately, they have to protect their mother from their father or stepfather or some male beating on her. He instinctually wants to do that. However, I think that there's also something to be said for having the inability to do that, number one. And number two, being steeped and mired in a culture where the righteousness, the instinctual nature of men is going to be overridden by niggerdom. That
Mm.
it's better or more enjoyable to be dishonorable to the woman you produce children with and to go out and have 6, 7, 8 different women on the side. That's a cultural thing that is combating with the God-given force that was placed within you. And you have some people who, let's just be honest, they're going to lean towards that. They're going to go to it, and it's going to become who they are. And then you're going to have others who are going to say, no, no, no. I remember how my father or my uncles or whoever did that. Or quite simply, I was raised in a household where men didn't do that. They don't cheat. They're there for their family, and they're that's just who they are. And Brother Mac, you're correct. There was a study that was done that says that black fathers inside and outside of the house are the most involved dads of any race or ethnicity of men. So you got the yin and you got the yang. And it's one of the things that we talked about, I want to say last week, of not trusting. It might have been Sunday, of not trusting the media and not trusting what it is that they highlight and they emphasize about black men. Let's be very clear. The majority of black men are not out here producing all types of children. It's a small segment of black men who produce the majority of this dysfunction that we're seeing with out of wedlock children and baby mamas and all of that drama that goes along with it. So we're not even talking about the majority of black men. We're talking about a subset of black men who, by and large, have, for whatever reason, allowed a dysfunctional culture to be their North Star instead of the traditional values and meanings and urges and instinctual nature that the black man has had for centuries.
Mm. Awesome. And I also want to look at this because I think this is one of the key things here, Doc. Matt says the father allowed chaos to ensue.
Mm-hmm.
He allowed his woman to act an ass and could not control her. When that word.
Let's see. Wait, hold on one second. I would argue to say that if she acts an ass, you're acting an ass because she's the closest and direct reflection of who you are and of your leadership. And black men have to be very careful of the women that they're choosing. Lord knows I know about this. Okay. Because quite simply, you could very well be choosing someone who is a multi-generationally bred hyena who's never going to be a wife, let alone a housewife, let alone a helpmate. Okay. She has been bred, she has been socialized in that feminine, cooperative, helpmeet nature that God put inside of her, just like we talk about the instinctual, protective nature of the man. It has been, if not completely removed, it's been turned off and dimmed to the point where it's merely a whisper. So that's an issue that we have to talk about as well. And it's in many ways what I was talking about, that he needs to have her under control, because if he has her under control and replicating the familial values, she's the first teacher. She'll be able to give those values and those viewpoints to their children, to his offspring, which is in many ways his legacy. Okay. And his failure to do that, you saw what it looks like. You saw what occurred. It almost cost him his life.
So, Doc, I want to look at, because Mac is making some really good points, where he says that that he submitted to her, which is backwards. Women are supposed to be submissive to the man. Obviously, he's not a man, but you're saying, Doc, that she was or are you saying? Let me clear before I say you're saying. Are you saying that she was uncontrollable from the get-go?
Yes,
Mm.
she's uncontrollable from the get go. You can't take. We talk about building a family, and the building blocks of every great nation is the family. Um, let's be very clear that every black woman out here is in need, and every black man are not foundational cornerstones for the building of a great family. It's just what it is. For whatever reason, this brick right here has serious cracks and flaws. It ain't gonna stand up to the pressure. So you can't use that one, regardless of how shapely it is, how pretty it is, what have you. You can't use that one. The entire foundation will never be level if you use that.
Mm.
We have to be very, very cognizant of that question. It's probably, it is a hell. It is the most important question that a man can answer. It's the most important choice that a man is ever going to make. What vessel will he allow his children to emerge through?
Mm.
And if that vessel is merely a hollow vessel, but it's pretty, it's got a fat ass, it's got some nice, a small waist, this, if that's enough, well, then that's what you're probably going to end up with, okay? A vessel that can pour nothing into your children that is worth anything. That's not a wife. We have to be very, very, very careful about discerning between who are and who are not wives. If you are looking for a traditional family of the man at the head and the woman being his helpmeet, be very, very selective, because to get that wrong, it's going to set you back decades.
Mm.
Okay, it's going to handcuff you for decades, and no amount of ass whooping, no amount of intimidation is going to ever make her a wife. She doesn't have it in her. Okay, she was raised um, by a woman who, for whatever reason, did not make making her a wife a priority as she was maturing. And even if you do have a mother who is deliberately trying to make her daughter a wife because she understands what life is truly about, that's still no guarantee that she's going to have the right disposition, that she's going to be able to be cooperative, that she's going to be able to recognize. And this is one of the most crucial things that women seemingly do not get. You can't make a man do nothing.
Mm.
You simply can't. And your position, your greatest position of influence, your greatest strength is found in your femininity. You want that man to realize that you are the center of what he's trying to do. That when he gets up and goes to work, he's getting up and going to work, not to go out and buy no damn Jordans, but to take care of you and your family, your children. And it's in your cooperation, it's in your helpfulness, it's in your submission that leads that man to, at every turn, say, number one, how will this affect my woman? And number two, what does she think about this? Let me get her wise counsel. Because truly, if you look at scripture and you deal with it, we're supposed to love our women like Christ loved the church. And he died for the church. That's what you're looking for. Not this conflict, not this combative nature and spirit of, well, I'm as good as you and you don't tell me what to do. That's not a wife. That's not a person who is able to be self-sacrificing, to match your self-sacrificing. It is not accidental that men, black men in particular, die before black women, because by and large we work ourselves to death for our families.
Wow. Doc, I want to look at this comment right here where it says it's sad because 90% of my black colleagues are married to Caucasian women and are very successful.
Very successful.
And like I told you, my first sergeant said to me, when I got into the military, to go get me a white girl and marry her, and I could be Sergeant Major of the Army. Why is it so that success is matched up with the black man has his natural talents and abilities, but when you marry that to a white woman, then your success level is so far greater than it would be if you married yourself to a black woman? Why is that?
I think that in I'll answer that question, but I'll also say something else about black women. The reason for that is that white women are able to smooth a road with other influential white folk. They provide a comfort for them. Okay. There is a natural affinity that one gets from dealing with their own. So when you're talking about going to an office party, a dinner party, some type of professional situation, the ownership is very, 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 very comfortable with that white girl that's there. And the fact that she's able to be around you, that increases their comfort level with you as well. Because let's be honest, when you're talking about cross-racial dialogue and interactions and what have you, people are very tense and nervous about offending anyone. So she's going to go a great measure towards cooling the room and kind of letting them know that he's okay. He's not an irrational black person. He's going to, and one of the reasons why you used to see throughout the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, I would say even in some of the 2000s, the NFL had a big problem with hiring black men to be NFL head coaches. The league is 90% black, but they ain't being head. The reason why is because during the interview process, these white men who are owners, they ain't never really been around black people before. So they're going to go for what is quote unquote familiar to them. I say that on the one hand. On the other hand, because I don't want anyone to have the impression that black women are not able to be the helpmeet, a reliable and adequate helpmeet system for black men who are successful. The majority of black men who are successful are married to black women. However, I will say this, that black women, by and large, have had to be raised in homes without black men. They have watched their mothers scrimp and save and fight and cry behind closed doors, trying to make a way out of no way. That impacts them. And oftentimes they're taught, now you can get with this man, but always save something to the side just in case it falls apart. That you need to exit. Okay, 1 foot in and at least 1 foot pointed towards the door at all times. But let me say this as well: the tendency of that chaotic, oppressive life that black women live, and black men by and large as well, they don't know how to handle that stress very well. And you know that you can't express or dump those emotions at the job, or you'll lose your job. So when you bring it home, you bring it almost as if it's in a backpack, and you unload that backpack right in your living room of your home, which should be your sanctuary. and you're going to either verbally express it, you're going to express it through emotions, you're going to express it through overconsumption of food, overconsumption of material goods from a mall, a store, or what have you. You just need to spend something to make yourself feel normal and feel less robotic. It is that stress and strain that is imported into Black houses, that by and large disrupts that home. And so here you have a Black man who has fought the world outside, just as a Black woman has fought the world outside. And he simply wants to come home and have a space of peace. Women are much more verbal and expressive. That peace that man is just falling into is being occupied and disrupted by a much needed mental health dump because of the hell that Black women have gone through. We have to work together. We have to have a situation where, quite simply, you can look at, I was watching this white couple, and the white lady said the way that we handle our stress is, she had a parent who was dying of a terminal disease, and of course that's weighing on her. She said, but when I get home, I look at my husband and I say to him, I got 20. And what she meant was, I'm running on about 20%, so I need you to give 80. She said, on other days, I got 90. So you go ahead and lay back and you relax and what have you. Okay. Because you ain't got to give as much today. And so we as a community, we as a family have got to love on each other and have consideration for each other at a level that those outside of our community can never understand or comprehend. And why would they? Because they're not living under the same constraints and strains that we are. They get a little inkling of it because with this economy doing the way that it's doing in inflation, they're feeling some of the stress, but it's nowhere like what our community deals with. So I think that what we're looking at is Black women are by and large out in the world of work, fighting against a white world and feeling as if Black men don't have their back. Well, Black men are fighting in a white world, and when they come home, they feel that their woman ain't got their back because she's bitching and complaining about things that really have nothing to do with him sometimes. So we just got to do better to love each other, man. And that's it. That's it.
All right. We want to look at this next video and talk about it and see how do we make that connection. And we're going to use the brother that we just saw in the previous video to make him to understand one aspect of being a father.
A father is the king in his house. The Bible says, man, Christ the head of man, man the head of woman, home, kingdom. The home is a small, minuscule replica of the kingdom of God. Thy kingdom come. Where's your kingdom? Living in a car, ain't got an apartment, little old jive flat, without even a vision or hope or desire to better your condition. Where's your kingdom? Don't bother this woman to go live in some junk pile with a fool. A father is the king in his house. The Bible says, man, Christ the head of man, man the head of woman, home, kingdom. The home is a small, minuscule replica of the kingdom of God. Thy kingdom come. Where's your kingdom? Living in a car, ain't got an apartment, little old jive flat, without even a vision or hope or desire to better your condition, where's your kingdom? Don't bother this woman to go live in some junk pile with a fool.
Okay, so there we have with the minister, and he was starting with the black man that you have to have a vision. If you don't even have a vision, don't bother the woman. How I guess hard or easy is it to have a vision, as you say, taking this black man that we just saw with his family, and I would say he doesn't have a vision for his family. I would think by what we saw that there was no vision there. How hard is it to teach this black man that he has to have a vision for himself, his family, and where he needs to go? That part first, Doc. And do
Well,
you agree that you gotta have a vision?
yeah, I mean, dealing with just that first part, I like you just to give us that little first morsel. It's not that difficult if you have someone who is able to help you know what questions to ask and to answer. I'm always shocked that so many of my students that I talk to, when we're trying to project them past undergrad into um, life, maybe even grad school, I ask them the simple question of, so where are you going to be in 5 years? And they begin to tell me this idea. First, many of them say, I never thought about anything like that. But many of them that have thought about that, they begin to say, well, I hope to so. And I'm like, no, 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 no. We're not hoping. Where will you be in 5 years? And then I follow that up with, where are you going to be in 10 years? A subsequent question. And if you're not, if you don't know to ask those questions and to think about those matters, you're never going to be able to develop a vision that is, and by vision, I mean a goal, not a dream. I'm not talking about, well, yo, I'm going to have 10 Ferraris and this and that. No, no, no. What we're talking about is a realistic, doable vision. What is your path forward? Okay. And it's not difficult to come up with if you have someone who can help, who can provide the questions for you. It kind of this discussion always reminds me of how some people are simply trying to make it to lunch period, maybe dinner, maybe make it home tonight. They have no vision, they have no plan, they have no understanding of what outcome they're trying to achieve. And one thing that I've learned that life has taught me is quite simply that if you don't have a plan for life and where you're going, life is going to dictate that to you. Keep living life long enough in a haphazard way, and life is going to put some kids on you. Life is going to put some student loans on you. Life is going to put this on you, going to put that on you. And then you're going to have to start playing defense and reacting to what it is that life has put on you versus being proactive. So having a vision is not difficult if someone can help you create the framework for it. But if you don't have that, there's no way you're going to come up with a vision. That brother, God bless him, with his family and his children, their vision was to go to the mall on this day and to react and deal with that. There is no vision, and he's a brother that, let's be honest, probably should have not been allowed to procreate within the community in the state that he's in right now.
So, Doc, the second part of that, where the minister talked about that the man is the ruler of the household, just as God is, the ruler of the universe. And you have to control that household. Now, most Black women don't like the word control, especially when you're gonna control her. And damn, don't say the word obey. You're supposed to obey me.
I was just going to bring that up. I was at a wedding rehearsal. My mother's best friend was getting married, and she was marrying a pastor, and they're going through the vows, and they got to love, honor, and obey. And her daughter shot up out of her pew seat and said, "Mama, I know you ain't gonna say you gonna obey this nigga. I know you ain't gonna obey this nigga." I will never forget that. Anytime that I'm at a wedding and they get to that part, I naturally look around to see if she even there. I know she ain't there. I'm like, who gonna be the one? The joke. I know you ain't gonna say obey to this nigga. But yeah.
So how does the man make that a reality? And again, this control, this obey. How do you do that?
You choose well. That's a part of having a plan. That's a part of being able to project forward. If you have stale bread there that is set and is not pliable and moldable, that's not your wife. Period. I don't care how your heart flutters when she walks in the room. I don't care how her butt and hips sit. That's not your wife. That's not someone that you can build your kingdom with. Let's just go ahead and call it what it is. That we have a significant population of men and women within our community who are neither wives nor husbands. Our culture and our society, our historical background, somehow we've gotten here. And it's just what it is. That's how you do that. Because what are you going to do? And we've seen this. We've seen Black folk who were quote unquote theoretically married, and they fought for 40 years. You ain't gonna dominate me, and blah 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 blah. Woman, you gonna obey him? Y'all are not equally yoked. And the idea of being equally yoked is not both of y'all pulling the same, amount of weight. Maybe if one of y'all pull more to the left when y'all go forward, you're gonna need a partner that pulls to the right so that the plow continues to go straight forward. You need somebody that is going to be strong where you're weak, and vice versa. And when you have two individuals who are in there and both of them are talking about they're gonna be the head and they're gonna be the leader, that's not gonna work. And the most astonishing and astounding thing, and I'm guilty of this as well. I got a little bit of that buffet believer in me when it comes to my religion. But mine is predicated upon John 3:16. I am the way, the truth, and the light, and no one shall see the Father but through me. If I truly believe that, then that means my uncles who were Muslims are burning in hell. And I just don't believe a righteous God would do that. Now, that's my thing of being selective, being a buffet believer in regards to religion. For other folk, it may be that I'm supposed to be a helpmeet. No, we equal. I ain't helpmeet nothing. What I don't get no say in what's going to be going on, and they have been convinced somewhere along the way that to be in order with God means quite simply that you're to be, and I heard a sister say this once, I ain't trying to be no slave. That's not a wife. And let's be honest. I mean, when you look at the statistics that only 25% of Black women are ever going to be married. And out of that 25% that gets married, 80% of them are going to file for divorce. I think that we have a lot fewer wives in our midst than we're willing to come out publicly and say.
I want to look at this comment that the 48th president of the United States said. I'm going to look at both of them, but I'm going to start with this one first. When he says that your kingdom has to be in a community environment with segregation society to keep evil out of your kingdom, so evil does not enter your house to destroy structure and mess up the code of conduct. Rules equals peace. What's your thoughts on that, Doc? Do you have to segregate your family from the rest of the community so that evil does not enter?
The only alteration that I would make to that statement right there is I don't consider it segregation. I consider it separation. I consider yourself being an active, willing party and separating yourselves from this evil, from this scourge. That's the only way forward. Let's be very honest about this. We're not just talking about a separation from white society and the moral decay that it seems to bring with it. Okay, with its being wedded to racism and also classism and capitalism. We're talking about also segregating ourselves from elements of Black society that looks like us, unless they're able to come in and get on our program. Okay, because I mean, really, honestly, who in their right mind wants to be at a PTA with that sister who was ranting and raving about her kids? We had a situation where young boy didn't receive an award or an honor at his graduation, and his mother cut a fool right there at the service, at the ceremony. Okay, and these were all Black folk. You know, Chris Rock said it best. He said there's a civil war going on within Black America between Black folks and niggas have got to go. You know, if they are not willing to stand up to the moral code, to make a contribution to our society, to conform, depart from us before we know you not. So I agree wholeheartedly with that. I just got a problem with considering it segregation. It's not segregation, it's separation. You don't want to be near us, we don't want to be near you. You don't want our kids in our school, we don't want your teachers in your curriculum in ours.
Right.
It's just what it is.
Exactly. I want to go to this next video and get your thoughts on that. And this next video that we're going to watch, I normally don't like this brother who's doing the talking, but you know what he said this time was very interesting, and it really no, not that nigga. No, that shit will never happen. No. This brother right here. Let's see.
There's direction. The woman problem is no one can correct. And a man has to be able to correct because his job is to establish law and order in the household. So most real men aren't liked. I'm gonna say it again. Most real men with real traits and characteristics aren't liked. He gonna say, baby, take that off. You're not finna go outside with your titties showing like that. Man, you got your ass out like that. Man, put some panties on, your pussy pretty showing. That's a real man establish law and order. Say, y'all sit down somewhere. Nigga, real man ain't liked. He's missed and appreciated after he's gone. But while he's here, he ain't liked, nigga. He's tolerated. Mama get everything. It's all about if mama happy. It ain't about if daddy happy. And daddy down the stress. And mama living long being happy. Because guess what? Everybody making mama happy. Don't give a damn about daddy being happy. There's direction.
Now, he said a whole lot there. And, you know, he's that comment, what he said, and what the, you know, got this 48th president, you know, goes right hand in hand. When a father says, no, we not hanging out with them, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, establishing this law and order, you know, fathers are not liked, you know, they're tolerated, but they're the ones that have to set up what it should be. And, you know, God damn, we doing what was right. but we get all the bricks. But as he said, when he's dead, then it's oh damn, daddy's gone. What's up with that, Doc?
I've talked about my father sparingly here, and I'll say this: I don't like my daddy. Okay? I don't. I don't like him. Okay, and when I think back about it, I don't think I've ever liked his ass. Okay. Yeah, man. I do not like him to the point where I told my dad this. I said, there's a good reason because my dad is in his 80s now. I said, there's a good reason to kick an old man down the stairs. You just don't want to do it. And he said, if you kick me down some stairs and I don't break my neck and die, I swear for God, I'm gonna kill your black ass. Okay. That's the relationship that we have. Okay. I was my mother's favorite, and my mother was my favorite. Okay. But when people ask me, I was asked this very peculiar question when I was lecturing abroad. What made you different? And what they were asking me was within the context of if black men are so bad off, how did you make it through? And it's my dad loved me as a man. He was my model. Okay. He got up every day pretty much and went to work. He worked in a steel mill. Okay. He was there with his family. He loved his family. He was always there. We was like, man, would you fucking go somewhere? You ain't got no friends that you could go bother or nothing like that. He was just always there. And he's still always there at 330 Dale Avenue. That's where my father, you can find my dad at it. Everybody knows. Okay. There's something about being molded. There's something about being molded at a moment where you don't have a vision or an understanding of why what's going on is actually going on. That's daddy. He's always self-sacrificing. He gets the least of everything. I mean, when you think about even the songs, Pop gave us Dear Mama. Okay. Temptations gave us what? Papa was a Rolling Stone. You know what I'm saying? Fathers are not only underappreciated, but by and large not appreciated at all because of the role that they play. The role of the father is to be in many ways the guiding rail, that when something's out of order, he corrects it. And he has to develop an understanding of, me seeing them flourish because of my correction is my applause. Even if they never recognize that that's what's going on, that I'm here. I remember being concerned about my dad getting a new car and how it would affect me being able to go to college. He said, listen, when it's time for you to go, you just be ready to go. Okay. I guarantee you, I got that. Okay. And that's what fatherhood is. It's you're a provider and you're a protector. My mother sat me and my sister down one day and she said, listen, I just want to explain it to you like this, how I ended up with your daddy. I was looking for a provider. Okay. He ain't social, he ain't lovey-dovey, he ain't affectionate, he ain't none of them things. He don't even really talk. Okay, unless he's saying something that he probably shouldn't be saying. Okay, that's gonna probably hurt your feelings after he says, I'll tell you what. Then he getting ready to let you have it. Okay. And that's the model of fatherhood that I have. Now I've tried to stretch it and expand it and kind of integrate some things that I didn't get from him that I think most people would expect.
Right.
But that's what I got. That's the model. And I think that what we're looking at, especially to get back to what the dear minister was talking about, you got to have your own feet planted and stable to be able to absorb what is really going to be another life and lifestyle into you. It's one of the reasons why I'm a proponent for, especially nowadays, with the materialism and capitalism that seems to guide so many of our women. You shouldn't even think about marriage until your early 30s, because you need to have a foundation that is sitting there that is kind of unshakable. Because when she come in, it's going to change your whole program. You know, how you think, how you talk, how you walk. You'll have a few enjoyable moments, I guess, but by and large, you are fatherhood at its core is agreeing to set yourself afire to keep others warm. And when that fire finally dies out and you go on to the afterworld, that's when you'll receive your kudos. That's when you'll receive your applause, unfortunately.
Wow. That is something powerful you just said, that. To be the fire to keep others warm.
Yeah.
And, wow. That is.
Now I'm quite sure that my women's studies people are going to be throwing their hands up right now, talking about I stole their stuff. You're damn right. You're damn right. I read y'all literature too. Y'all act like y'all, I'm not supposed to have to set myself afire to keep others warm. Well, God damn it, that's what black men have done for their entire lives. So that's ours. Okay. So before y'all get to writing in and calling in and telling about, well, he got that from, so you're damn right I did. I'll steal from whoever I can steal from. If ain't nobody stole your stuff, it ain't worth shit anyway.
I know that's right.
Take it as a compliment.
We're going to go to our last video for the evening and watch this one and come back and discuss it. All right.
23 years ago, Almighty God, Allah, blessed one of his servants to make a call. And evidently, the God had favor on his servant because the God put the spirit in the hearts of his people to respond to that call. 23 years ago, Almighty God was showing the world, whether you like it or not, his choice. He chose us as a people, but everybody has to have a head. And whether you subscribe to all that the minister believes is irrelevant. The minister has been teaching for 6 decades. And no one here, by the grace of Allah, I believe, know the enemy better than this man sitting behind me. Over the years, we all have been tried. And those characteristics of jealousy and envy has crept in to the movement. And this is why when our enemy represents the minister to the people, it's always skewed in how he represents this man of God. But the time has come that we don't give a damn what they think about our man. And any one of you that do not do the research before you condemn this man, you will be dealt with by our people. Because when you deny this man, you are denying the very liberation and the salvation of us as a people. And all of us have held our peace because of this man. I thank Allah for this man, and I thank Allah for my mother. And I want him to know that the movement is safe. We have, everybody in here have come from an infinity of time, and we're here for a few moments in time, and then we go back into an infinity of time. We have to be the strong link in the chain from ancestor to ancestor. What are you going to do with the time that you have? All right. I would like to present to you a man who, in my humble judgment, is the Prince of Peace. A man, in my judgment, who is the personification of love. And a man, in my humble judgment, who is the voice of God in our midst. Help me to bring to these microphones our brother, our friend, our leader, our teacher, our God. Help me to bring the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Now that is Brother Mustafa Farrakhan, Minister Farrakhan's son. He's the supreme captain of the Nation of Islam. Very, very humble, beautiful, strong brother, just like his father. Now, Doc, we both have sons. To be able, to make your son to pick up your mission, to pick up your assignment, it takes some work. It takes some real work. What is the best advice as we close that you can give fathers in mentoring their sons, not to be just like them, but to be better than them, to be even more of that God figure, more of that father figure than we were? What advice would you give to them? Give to us?
I would simply tell them to look at your son as the updated model of you. Okay. I'm James Thomas Jones III. My son is the fourth. And he's like me in his makeup and his build, Like he can lock himself away for days working on his projects, but he's not a historian. He's not. That's not his thing. That's not what he was sent here for. He's a builder. He's an engineer. Something that I'm not good at. I've had no training in that, really no desire, no interest in it. But because it's his thing, I've dedicated myself to providing him with everything I can possibly provide him, to help him along that path and that road that he's traveling. I would tell fathers, embrace the opportunity for a legacy, embrace the opportunity for longevity, for your influence to be here long after you're gone. For maybe if we have reincarnation, you'll be born back into your legacy. Um, Embrace it, enjoy the process, enjoy the ride, enjoy every moment of it, good and bad. Because quite simply, when the curtain falls, it ain't coming back up no more. So enjoy, work hard, plan, execute, and learn to laugh and love along the way.
Excellent, excellent. And I also want to point out Mac 285 comment where it says, before my father passed, he used to chastise me for smoking weed. I will never forget how angry he was because he never showed me that example. Yet he was a beer drinker, and I don't drink, by the way. What's your comments on that, Doc?
I've never had a drink of alcohol in my entire life. Never. It literally, because addiction runs in my family. I've talked about this. Out of my mother's 7 brothers, 5 of them died of a drug overdose. So I've always shied away. I'm no stronger than my uncles were, and I know that the way they went, going all in, that's what I would do as well. So I stayed away from. And during a conversation with my son, he went to the. Do you remember? International Omar,
Mm-hmm.
the brother that was out of Chicago, and we went over to there. Okay, he has a African American men's self mastery retreat that occurs somewhere in Mexico, and my son participated in it during the inaugural class, and he came back so different that I'm committed to sending him back again, to build with those brothers. And we're talking about what he learned because he came back. He's talking about, I unlocked a new power. I'm now writing poetry, which as a writer really made my heart grow. I'm like, okay, he's gonna write. Okay. But during that conversation, he says, I've changed completely from them. I told my friends last night, I'm not drinking no more. And that hit me like, what the fuck you mean you ain't drinking no more? You drink? And he was like, oh yeah, I had started drinking. And that's the part from his mother's side. They drink. And I remember having to compose myself and to really say, how do you deal with this? How should I deal with this? Because despite what I would like to think, I'm a lot more like my father than I want to ever admit. And like I said, me and him ain't, I'm glad my sister got to take care of him now because we wouldn't be able to make it. But I was disappointed, bothered, hurt, fearful, scared for what's coming down the pipeline. Because in my quest to get him prepared for when I'm not here, I want him to understand that there is very little, if any, room for margin or error for Black men in this society, for Black people in general, but for Black men in particular. And you can't afford a misstep. because one misstep is going to put you in a situation where it may not be necessary for you to have another misstep for all of your dreams to be dashed. So that's how I dealt with it. I kind of, I didn't attack it, but I wasn't happy about it.
Excellent, Doc, excellent. And I want to go ahead and give Mac 285 his last comment. He says, "Sometimes I wish my father wasn't an entrepreneur because of the time and the sacrifice it comes with. I learned from him to enjoy life and spend as much time with your sons as possible." And that is definitely a good closing comment. We thank you, Mac 285, for all your comments throughout the program.
Well, certainly, it was a joy to read what you were writing.
Exactly. And I want to say to Twin Pyramid, be careful out there on that road, dear brother. Be careful out there on that road, because that bad boy is no joke. We definitely enjoyed having you, and the same thing for you, Brother Willie Rivers. It's always a pleasure to have you with us on the program. As we go ahead and call it a night, we have not finished this topic because I still have more to get into, so we're not done with it by a long shot. But this is just, the orientation, I would call it, an orientation to this topic that we're getting into, because it's a very important topic, and we need to understand what things are and how things should be, and how do we make them to be as they should. So until next time, as we always say, you kill the nigga in you, I'm going to kill the nigga in me, and our God will reign supreme. We are Black First, today, tomorrow, and forever. Love you, family. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.
So you better get the message and get it straight. You're going to need some bridge work. It's simple as that. Because we're living in judgment. We're living in implementation.